Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the AirPod Pro's 3s and compare them against the AirPod Pro 1 and see which particular AirPods are the better ones for you. Now, the very first thing to remember here is that within AirPod Pro's 3s, these are the best types of AirPods you can buy. And if you're in the market, I would highly recommend going through and buying those types of AirPods. But the AirPod Pro's 1s, I think, are still pretty good for a lot of people out there. And if you're in the market and you are trying to actively go out and try to buy a pair of AirPods, I definitely do think a pair of AirPod Pro's, 1s are still good. If you still have them, then keep them. But just know that the Pro's 3s have a couple of cool features going on for them as well. And if you want to pick up either one of these particular AirPods, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of these particular AirPods. The AirPod Pro's 1s came out back in 2019, so they are a little bit older, right? They're about 6 years old now. And these AirPods came in a pretty similar style to all the other AirPods after it. You have the ear tips, you have the case itself, which is a little wider. You have a lightning charger at the bottom, but they did have wireless charging, which was nice. And that was kind of it. You got the pairing button on the back. These are pretty standard types of AirPods. There's not anything super crazy going on with them, but they are pretty basic when it kind of comes down to it as well. The AirPod Pro's 3s definitely take it up a notch. You're now getting a little bit of a slimmer type of case, but the AirPods are roughly around the same size. They have the charging LED light on the front. You do have a speaker and a lanyard loop on the AirPod Pro's 3s, which is interesting. And you have a USB Type-C charger. This is a pretty big difference because you have that type of capability here, which, USB-C is definitely a much better charging port. You have MagSafe capability and the ability of charging up your AirPods via an Apple Watch charger as well. So that is a little bit of an advantage of the Pro's 3s, which already is a pretty big improvement. Now, when you actually put these things in your ears, the fit and everything is going to be about the same because they're both essentially ear tips, so you can change out how it feels. But you do notice that the stems stick out a little bit more on the Pro's 3s, where the Pro's 1s, they kind of are a little bit more in line. So I actually do like the Pro's 3s a little bit more, since they kind of fit in your ear a little bit nicer and they stick out a little bit more, so it's easier to kind of grab. Now, you do have conversational awareness on the Pro's 3s. You have adaptive audio and transparency mode. You get transparency mode on both. However, with something like the AirPods Pro's 3s, Apple states that you're getting 4 times more active noise cancellation than the original AirPod Pros. So that's a pretty big difference. Getting quadruple the amount of noise cancellation from the AirPod Pro's 1s is pretty insane. So that is going to be a really big improvement coming from the AirPod Pro's 1s. If you're always in kind of a silent environment and you're not really noticing anything big that way, then maybe the Pro's 1s are still going to be good. But if you're talking about this, there's going to be a massive difference between those two. So that right there is going to be a very big deal. On top of that, you are also getting a heart rate sensor inside of the Pro's 3s, which is another really cool thing. You're also getting that hearing aid, hearing test type of, feature inside of the AirPod Pro's 3s, where the Pro's 1s, kind of didn't really have that type of capability. And you're also getting live translations inside of the AirPod Pro's 3s, which I think is probably going to be one of the biggest types of improvements that some people might actually prefer and some people might actually like. So I definitely do think going from the AirPod Pro's 1s to the 3s, there's a pretty big difference and you're definitely getting a lot of cool things. But I would still say if you have the Pro's 1s, I still think these are pretty good headphones. If you aren't really finding yourself complaining about the things that I mentioned throughout this video, then I think the Pro's 1s are still probably good. Maybe you can keep them for a little longer until the Pro's 3s go on sale. But I think the Pro's 3s are a pretty good upgrade, and if you have the opportunity to, I would definitely recommend upgrading for sure. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.